Hi, this is Emily Iannelli of T-Girl Angel. How are you guys doing? Um, I'm having a great weekend. I actually had a wonderful day yesterday with my friend Sarah. We actually had a get together with some of her friends, and we got to cheer on the New York Mets, who won. Yay! The Mets win! They go up 1-0 against the Cubbies. And if I wasn't a Met fan, I would be rooting for the Cubbies, but I am a Met fan, so I'm going for my team, the METS Mets. Yay! I love the Mets. I've been a Met fan since long time ago. I was watching the Mets with my mom as a young little boy. Yes, there was a day when I was a boy, but I'm now a woman, and I'm very happy about that. But I can't deny my past, and I'm proud that I am not ashamed of my past. Why should I? That was a part of me. That is a part of me, and I can't undo it, nor do I want to. I'm proud to say I'm a transgender woman. In fact, not only am I a transgender woman, but I'm a transsexual woman, and I do hope one day to have surgery. But even if I don't, it's not the end of the world. Um, but let's go back. Yes, I've been a Met fan since I was about 5 years old. Uh, and I knew I was a girl since I was 3 years old. But I was always a Met fan. And I played Little League. And I believe that I was very inspired by the ball players in the Mets organization. Uh, my very first uh, pitcher that I fell in love with as a fan was, of course, Tom Seaver. Tom Seaver was one of the best Mets on the team, and he was called the franchise because he was the face of the New York Mets, and they nicknamed him the franchise. Tom Seaver was my mother's favorite. She adored Tom Seaver, and so did I. And I remember we always thought Tom Seaver was one of the best. Not only was he a great ball player, but he was a great husband and family man. I remember commercials with him and his wife, Nancy Seaver, and their beautiful girls. So I always was a big fan of Tom Seaver. And I was a fan of many of the Mets. But I would say that my all-time favorite baseball player was not in fact a Met. My all-time favorite player, who sadly died in a tragic plane accident, was Roberto Clemente. And not only was Roberto Clemente a tremendous baseball player, but Roberto Clemente was a wonderful humanitarian. And the reason why he passed away tragically was because he was involved in a plane crash. But he was on a humanitarian effort to help those in, I think it was Managua, Nicaragua, who had encountered a major earthquake. And Roberto Clemente was trying to fly food and emergency supplies to those affected areas. And sadly, he died as that plane went down. But Roberto was one of the best baseball players, and I remember seeing him hit his 3,000th career hit, in fact, against the New York Mets with the opposing pitcher John Matlack on the mound. And he hit that 3,000th hit in the season, which would be his last, unfortunately, before that tragic plane crash. And he's the only ball player to be inducted into the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, and was not required to wait that mandatory 5 years. They inducted him immediately, as they should. I was very much influenced by Roberto Clemente, and I always loved his style of play. Baseball has always been a major part of my life. In fact, when I was struggling with my gender issues, I tried to use baseball as a means to try to get more into my boyish side and try to escape that girly side. The irony, though, was that even though I was on the baseball team, I would wear girls' panties and girls' tights underneath my baseball uniform. Nobody was supposed to know that. That was, in fact, my biggest secret, was that I would wear girls' clothes underneath all my boy clothes all throughout my life, even into my adulthood. That was just normal for me. Since I couldn't wear it on the surface, I wore my girl clothes underneath my male clothes, even as a child. That was just me. That was my life. I identified as a girl, so I wanted to be a girl, and the only way I could was through my expression with my clothes. It was hard for me to get access to girls' clothes, but I was lucky that I had a sister who was not that much smaller than I am 2 years older than my sister, but I was fortunate to find on occasion a dress or a bathing suit or some other form of female clothing that I would, another secret, I would steal from my sister. Don't tell anybody, please. I don't want to get in trouble. Yes, I did steal from my sister. I was bad. But that was the only way I could get girls' clothes. So what else could I do? I couldn't buy them. I didn't even know how to get to the mall. And I didn't have a bank account, aside from my junior savings account that my parents set up for me when I was in the first grade. I don't know what happened to that little amount of money. But I wore girls' clothes from the youngest that I recall was age 3. And I remember wearing a beautiful little dress that hung in the laundry room on a hanger that I reached up on. I grabbed a chair and I stood up and I grabbed that dress off the hanger. And I put it on and it was magical. I felt like a fairy princess. It was wonderful. I don't know how I digressed from the Mets to being a fairy princess, but no one understands the workings of my mind. I'm out there, but I'm an artist, so I guess I have free reign to be a little off the wall. And that's who I am. I'm Emily Iannelli of T-Girl Angel. So I have free reign to be a little off-center. I have to be. How can I not? I'm a transgender woman. My life is complicated. It is very complicated. I can't tell you. I do have pride in who I am, and I also am proud to be a father of a son I adore. He's autistic, but I am very proud and I love my son very much. And without my son, I don't think I would be here. And that's the truth. My son is my son gives me a sense of purpose in my life. And I love my son so much. I would do anything for him. It's hard to transition, especially when you have a child in your life. And I had doubts about transitioning. In fact, I didn't even think I would ever transition, to be honest with you. It wasn't something that I thought was ever going to happen for me. Though I did want to live as a female all my life, I always felt like I should have been a girl. But I didn't think it would ever be possible for me. I put up this big wall, this barrier, even though I cross-dressed and wore girls' clothes. You see, I have my dress on. I have it hidden underneath my jacket. But essentially, I pretend this is a man's jacket. God forbid, it's not. But pretend. I used to wear a man's jacket and a shirt and tie that men wear, not a girl's shirt and tie, a man's shirt and tie with a man's jacket. But underneath, yes, underneath I would have a dress. That's the truth. But nobody would know that. Only I did. And that was so frustrating because I couldn't be who I was inside. I couldn't be me. And I was so depressed. And I wanted to cry. But when I was 13, I learned about some interesting things. I learned about what a transsexual was. I learned about Dr. Renee Richards. I learned about Tula, Caroline Cassie. And I learned about some other famous male-to-female transsexual and transgender women who inspired me. And I knew right then and there, at the age of 13, that I was in fact a transsexual woman. But despite the fact that I wanted to transition at a very young age, as early as 16, I never thought it would be possible. And I cried a lot over it. And at the same time, I always wanted to have a normal life. You know, marry, have children, have a house, a career, a car. That's what I always wanted. But in the back of my mind, I also wanted to be a female, live as a woman, not by choice, maybe by choice, but by an internal need. I knew in my heart I was a female. And I knew deep down I needed to become one. Not that I wasn't, I was always, but I had to match it from the outside to the inside. And it was only tragedy, sadly, that helped me propel myself to become a woman. My dad's unfortunate suicide and my friend's premature death. And that was what helped me. Though it was tragic, I realized life is short and fleeting, and you may as well live it and be happy. I love my wife, my family, my son, but I'm also happy as a transsexual woman. I love you guys.